I'm delighted to be joined now, and I better get his name right because it's quite scary. Former Scotland Yard detective Peter Bleksley.
Good afternoon.
How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you.
Looking very smart.
Thank you.
Would it be fair to start by saying the police have a bit of a PR problem right now?
Catastrophic situation at the moment with regards to public trust, basically, because, as you've just alluded to, it's bad news story after bad news story. Now, of course, we've got an inquiry into standards and culture at the Met Police going on, and there's other root and branch reforms they would have us believe being announced only today. But is it going to get to the nub of the problem? This is what I'm deeply concerned about.
I find it interesting. We talked over the last couple of weeks, we've talked about strip and search. We've talked about voluntary officers being given the skills and the training to use taser. We've heard, as you quite rightly said, about problem after problem with the Met. We know about the Met and Partygate compared to Durham, who let Dominic Cummings off and apparently are going nowhere near Keir Starmer. There doesn't seem to be any uniformity. And I think it's very... I'm a massive fan of the police, and I genuinely mean that, and I think it's wrong. But they don't seem to be helping themselves. Does that come from the top? Is it are the waters muddied? Do people not know what they're supposed to do? Or is it, as a lot of people, Peter, would say, the quality of police officer isn't what it was?
I like when you raise uniformity, because I say consistency. I think this is really important. Independence is vital for the police as well, and for them to be consistent. But of course, in the UK, we've got 43 separate police forces in England and Wales, with 43 different chief constables or commissioners presiding over them. So perhaps it's not surprising that there's inconsistencies, but this is what the public want. And what do they really want from our police? They want the police to keep the streets safe, and they want them to lock up bad people.
I was telling a story in the talk the other night, which she'd identified with a mate of mine. His dad was a bobby on the beat. That was his job. That was his life, and that's what made him. And he did it for 30 plus years. And he said about 4 years ago, I'm giving up. I'm giving up because in the old days, if Dad have heard me say this, you know, one of my people in my area, an old lady, would have been burgled. I'd have gone round, changed the lock, made her 3 cups of tea, made sure all the windows were safe, talked to her for a couple of hours. Now I've got a computer printout, I've got 18 minutes, boxes to tick, and I'm on my way. And I don't feel like I can liaise and get to be part of the community. Surely the biggest problem with policing, apart, and we'll get on to Sadiq Khan in a minute, is we need more policemen and women on the streets, right?
We do, and there is a massive recruitment drive going on. But
they've been taken off the streets in the last 12 years by the Tories, haven't they? That's an absolute fact.
Well, the age of austerity, that decade, decimated policing. And Theresa May was, quite frankly, a catastrophe, both as Home Secretary, where she was for many years, and then as Prime Minister. She just didn't get it. Yeah. And she accused the Police Federation at one point of crying wolf. Well, look where we're at now. Yeah,
it's easy from the cheap seats, Theresa, isn't it? Today, by the way, this is another one. We also see the news that Black history lessons are set to be compulsory for all police, as they're told, don't be afraid of being labelled as woke. This is great. Hello.
It's 41 years since Lord Scarman published his report into the Brixton riots of 1981. And that spoke about racial harassment. So that flagged it up that there was a big problem. It's 25 years since the Macpherson report was published, which labelled the Met Police institutionally racist. And today we have the National Police Chiefs Council pronouncing from on high that there is going to be training and that we're not going to be racist anymore. This is like some dreadful dystopian nightmare that we're stuck in. Why haven't the police properly addressed this matter over the decades?
For me, it's a shame. I grew up, right? I grew up, and when I say you were scared of the police, you were scared of the police, and there's no respect anymore. There's no fear. Most kids and criminals, I suspect, are not even concerned in the slightest if they get pulled over. We've just had this as well. Sadiq Khan, him who ruined London taxi drivers' livings, has demanded an explanation from police after what's been called smoking gun pictures. Khan said the PM appears to have been caught red-handed. This is the picture where he had a glass. This is clearly a party, says Sadiq Khan. He was raising his glass. There were empty wine bottles there. I think the police should be explaining how they reached their conclusion. Surely that's the right thing to do.
Well, this story, I'm afraid, is going to continue to run and run, because when the Sue Great report is published, maybe tomorrow, I'm sure that many journalists are going to pore over her findings and compare them to the fines that have been issued. Will there be inconsistencies between what Sue Great discovered and what the police have done?
What about the police that were outside Number 10 and all those times? Did they not know there were parties going on?
With suitcases of booze being taken in?
Telling me there was no police at the back of Downing Street when they... Come on.
Oh, exactly. So
then,
I hope their role is questioned.
But then, you see, the point is, I think it's very easy, and I understand the anger with Johnson and the government, but I'm one of those people that thinks it's time to move on. How about this from Pete? Sadiq Khan questions police over response over Partygate. Why has he not questioned them about a lack of dealing with knife crime in the city?
We have a tide of teenage blood flowing through London and, sadly, other cities. And it's catastrophic. 31 young lives, I believe, taken in London alone last year.
What would you do to make the police more efficient, more respected, more trusted? What would you do?
This might not be a quick answer, but I'll try and I'll make it.
2 minutes?
I'll make it as quick as I can. I would reinforce the independence of the police, and I would not allow any police officer to wear any symbol of allegiance or hold any flag to any group whatsoever. The only way that you can show you are there for everybody, except the bad guys...
No rainbow helmets,
is by showing an allegiance to no one. Be strictly independent. We don't see the army painting the tanks and the RAF.
You think they've become too politicised?
Yes, and yet they're always moaning about the politics of policing, politics interfering with policing. And look what they're doing themselves. Be independent. Be robust. You can be robust and thoughtful and accepting and everything that modern society wants you to be, but you can still be firm and polite, and police like the public want you to police.
I said the other day, with everything that's gone on in the world, and I'm an old man now, right, and I came back here 9 months ago, and I love this station for many, many, many reasons, but I said you can look at television presenters and radio presenters nowadays in this woke world of 2022, and so many are so scared to lose their jobs, they actually forget to do their jobs. And I see similarities with the police. The waters are muddied. Who am I going to offend? Who am I going to upset? Who am I going to hack off? And thus mistakes happen. There are bad eggs in every single business, OK? There will be bad police officers, men and women. There will be bad people in all walks of life. But I grew up wanting to respect the police, and I fear that we're a long way away from that, and that's what I want to try and get back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that territory has been lost, but not lost forever with the right leadership. But the problem is those who are currently vying for the top job at the Met, for example, and those who occupy these senior positions in other forces are very good at the promotion process. They might not actually be very good police officers, but they know how to climb that greasy pole. They know how to sit in front of an interview board and tell them what they want to hear. Well, I think we need some proper policing, which is polite, which is accepting of everybody, which understands the modern world, but is robust.